viewers. Welcome to my sisters that are also joining me. Today, we have a brand new topic for you in store. We're going to discuss the handmaid of Yah. For some people, it may be unclear what that's about, but we will dive into the topic in itself. Um, my sisters, welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, I'm glad to do this topic with you girls. So let's see what it will bring about. For everyone at home, make sure that you join us in the comment section. Give us topics, give us questions so that we can also discuss those during the show. Yeah, where to start? Because for me personally, the topic was heavy or packed with a lot of information, a lot of things that I hadn't heard before, things
Mhm.
that I really had to think about,
Yeah.
um, and things that quite shocked me. So, before we even look at the title of the show itself, how was it for you? How was it for you guys?
For me, it was already a familiar story because I think last year I discovered the book
Mhm.
doing a study, and then I found it. I was like, oh, whoa! I didn't know that there was an an elaborated part about the mother of Mary. So I was happy that the minister was able to touch it and to educate us, like how her journey looked like. But it was very insightful, and um, things became also a bit clearer because I also had some few questions when I was doing the study. But it was a very nice story. Once again,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, agree. And Sister Abigail? Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what was new for you then, if I may ask? Hmm.
Hold, hold. Abigail, hold, hold, hold. Everyone says they see you talking, but they don't hear you.
Oh,
So let's see how we can fix that. Because I don't want you to talk and everyone misses interesting information, right? So,
yeah.
everyone at home, give us a sec. Mm,
Yeah.
yes, yes, we do. Okay, because think, I think, um, give us a few seconds. I think it's because your audio is not online. Let us try one thing. Okay. Abigail, can you say something right now?
Yes, good evening, listeners.
I think
Yeah, it should be okay now.
we can hear her right now.
Can someone please confirm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, they say they hear you right now. Okay,
Okay,
so
great.
this is just the way that we're going to do it. And nothing to do about it. But
Minor problems.
thank you everyone at home for signaling us. Okay, so Stephanie, maybe you can ask your question again, and then Abigail can
Yeah,
ask the
yeah,
question.
because the
Yeah.
part that Abigail was talking about,
Mm-hmm.
that there was a major part of Mary's story and also
Yeah.
her parents that was not
That I was not known of.
that was not known to you.
So,
So I was wondering, like, which part of that was not known to you.
yeah, so As I mentioned before, I wasn't really familiar with the story of Mary as it was preached last week. So, the part of Mary that I didn't know about was that she was separated from her parents at the age of
Mhm.
3 and that she had to serve in the temple. And also the story of her parents that they had to long for a very long time in able to give birth to their first child.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
think the entire backstory was, yeah, as you said, we know the small parts from the book of Matthew and maybe in the book of Luke, but even if we look at all the topics that we have discussed before, I think this is so valuable to also know, like, how does someone start? How is someone called to such a purpose? Um, but also something that we have been seeing in the topics of the last few weeks as well,
yeah.
because I remember when I read the story and also listened again as the minister was explaining it. This was also a couple that didn't have a child for quite a long while, and I was reading the story of John the Baptist. Exactly the same thing. They were righteous, they were pious people, it says, but for all the years that they were serving, no child at all until Elohim decided to visit them. So that was something for me that stuck out.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. The other thing for me, what also like stood out was, I think the years, the 20 years that they
Yeah,
distant. So when that was mentioned, I was like, okay, wait.
Longer.
20 years. The way they went about it, like that whole journey, their activities, their movement, I was like, wow,
Mhm,
so beautiful, so beautiful that during, you can say it like a waiting season, that they
mhm,
were so dedicated to serve Elohim and also like to think of other people. They remembered the poor people, they gave alms. um 20 years, like,
mhm.
I don't know
that's
what
a very long
in your
time.
mind, but 20 years is very long.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I had the same reaction, and it also made me think that, um, I mean, it's not mentioned, so I assume that
Mhm,
they didn't go through that process. But nowadays, you have like different options if you're not able to give birth by yourself.
Yeah.
So you can go through the process of IVF
mhm,
or a surrogate or adoption. And some people choose to go some people choose to go through that direction. Sorry,
mhm,
and others don't. Others just accept the fact that they are not able to become parents. But um, I can imagine that nowadays in our time, the pressure sometimes can be so heavy
Yeah.
that you have the desire on your heart enable to carry that title of becoming a parent,
yeah,
and that you would choose that direction of adoption or a surrogate mother,
Mhm.
and able to become a parent instead of waiting for so long
Mhm.
for Elohim to confirm, to answer your prayers.
mhm,
So yeah, that was something that was going through my mind because that is something that's really common nowadays.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if those options were also available back then,
Yeah.
mhm.
but just the fact that it kept their faith in Elohim for so long, and at the end, a greater reward was giving, maybe not directly to them, but through
Mhm.
them, restoration was restored.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also believe that that's exactly what the story or the stories that we have been discussing tries to teach us. Wait, wait, wait on Elohim. It may seem very long.
Mhm.
Sarah and Abraham were years maybe at a certain time. Sarah was like, yeah, whatever. You told me that I would get a son, and years passed, but still continuing to do what you have to do, still holding on to faith. And we're discussing it, but it isn't that simple, especially also from the perspective maybe of a woman wanting to carry a child, wanting to give your husband children. Um, but then to hold on. to what Elohim said, or even in the case of Mary's parents, I can't recall Elohim giving a promise beforehand. I think it was just them continuing to do what they were doing,
Yeah.
and eventually he visited them. Yeah, that's another type of strength.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then also afterwards, like even when they were giving their how do you say that? Even though their prayer were answered,
Yeah.
um, it's like they were only able to enjoy the presence of their child for a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mhm.
after 3 years, it's still actually a baby, and you just give it away. Like nowadays, you're so used to celebrating birthdays, the
Mhm.
milestones that your child achieves, um, and and their relationship just became so different because of the vow that they made.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like you were giving the very thing that you wanted, but it was not for them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it seems, because they eventually had to give it away
Mhm.
for the purpose of Elohim and what was about to come.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and also thinking of their fate. Of course, it has like a very big role in this story.
Mhm.
Just to think of giving your child away, I think, of course, it's hard to do, but just to know that the dedication was done because of the vow, but also because they knew the bigger picture that
Yeah.
that is ahead of them, and also Mary herself, and then the Messiah that will come through her
Mhm.
is, yeah, a bit strange statement maybe, but I don't think it is easily done in this present time.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Not at all. I think even if you would do something like this, people would call it a cult. They would look at you crazy. They would say like you're sacrificing your
Yeah.
child,
Mhm.
like you're doing witchcraft. Like
Mhm.
which mother would do such a thing, like to give her child
Yeah, at the same time,
away in the
people make,
temple?
Yeah.
but at the same time, people make such statements. Yeah,
Yeah.
even before they carry a child, they make certain vows, doing prayers,
Mhm.
because they have a desire to have one. And then when the child has been born, it is already here on earth. They
Mhm.
forgot about the statement, the vows that they already made.
Yeah.
So even in this present time, I think also a lesson from me personally, I don't know which lesson you can take out of this, but think of those times that you were in prayer and asking Elohim for something with all your heart, mentioning that when your child will be born, that you will give it back to Elohim, and you don't do that.
Yeah.
Very consequences will follow after this. So how will you yeah, what's your thoughts on this? Making vows, promising Elohim. In the story of Mary, it was a bit different because they made a vow and they have to leave their child. Anna had to leave her child in the temple. Well, in this, I don't know in which environment you will leave your child, in the house of Elohim or a place of worship.
Mhm.
Make it a bit concrete in our present time. Easy things that we do easily. We, the women, the mothers.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard because, as you said, making certain vows, especially in your prayers, I think it's dangerous to sometimes be so in your emotion when you make a certain prayer or a statement. And I think we often want to show Elohim that we really, really mean it. We really, really mean it. But we also have to be mindful of. The fact that the words that we use, um, there needs to be a certain response. So you say that you want this child, you will do this and this. Eventually, you will have to do what you said that you would do.
Mhm.
Hannah had the same thing. She also made a vow, and she gave Samuel unto Eli. Even though that is a child that she was waiting for so long, but she gave child unto Eli, and eventually she also got more children. So sometimes we just need to do what Elohim has asked us or told us to do. sometimes based on our own words, but also on the things that he says, because you don't know what is behind that. Sometimes he gives us an option or a choice has to be made, but because we're so consumed with what we want and what we think, Elohim is greater and sees everything beyond that. So sometimes it's really a level or a certain level of trust. Yeah. But yeah, the vow thing, it's difficult, it's hard. You really want to show that you mean it, but be very mindful of the things that you say. Elohim will require it from you one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ebio? Oh, I thought I thought
No, she didn't say anything.
something.
Oh no, I don't really have anything to add to this question. I think you have said it all.
Yeah, and I see Sister Cocoa Orange. That's a while back. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice that you could tune in.
Yeah.
That's really a while back. Um I don't know if this is something that you guys also thought of, but I mentioned the part of Joachim and Anna serving and serving and serving, and then it brought about also the desire that they wanted to have. And there was a certain statement that came into mind because I believe that a lot of believers often wrestle with this statement. And I was wondering how we should view it. So the statement is righteousness always equals blessings.
Hmm.
So, what I mean with that is sometimes believers think that, yeah, you being righteous will always bring about the blessings, the things that you
Oh,
want and need in this world. But I was wondering if that's correct. Is that a right way to look at it? Because from the story of Mary, you wouldn't that's not actually what happened. It happened later, of course. So, how should we view righteousness and the blessings that come from it? Is it always the case?
mm-mm. No, 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 no. I don't think so.
Hmm. Elaborate.
Unfortunately, the truth is that most of the righteous people, they also went through sufferings. First, some they in the beginning, of course, they have a period that they will have some challenges, some painful moments, some serious hardship that they have to really sacrifice so many things, and they continuously are righteous people. They try to seek Elohim, but that is because of the work. If
Mhm.
you are a righteous person, if you follow after righteousness, I also believe that the reward of that, the work that you have put in for Elohim, that is a blessing.
Mhm.
But righteous people also, they don't get blessing automatically. So it does not, I find it a bit difficult
Mhm.
to answer it straightforward,
Mhm.
because there also are different things that comes in play.
Is there maybe an example that you can use or mention?
I
Example.
think maybe when you think of the story of, if I'm not mistaken, Moses, right, who was appointed by Elohim to lead the people
Okay.
to the promised land.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And eventually, even Moses didn't even make it. So he was appointed as a leader, but on the journey, he also faced a lot of difficulties dealing with the people. He
Mhm.
lost his temper a few times. Elohim corrected him, but he didn't reach the destination that he was appointed.
Mhm.
So I think maybe you could say or translate that reaching the promised land would have been the greater blessing in
Mhm.
his life. But he didn't reach it. So did he miss a blessing? Maybe not necessarily. I think he was blessed in his life some way.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we translate the definition of blessing incorrectly.
Yeah.
It's not always something that will make you feel good or that you yourself will see with your own eyes. Sometimes it will pass through your descendants, um, or yeah. the people next to you. Sometimes they may benefit from your hard work,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and not necessarily the one who was appointed. So,
Mhm.
and I also remember reading the book of Deuteronomy. I'm not sure which chapter it was,
Hmm.
but I
Sister
also remember that Elohim was talking to,
Abby,
uh,
Abby.
yes,
Yes, we hear you, but now we can't see you.
what's going on?
Oh,
Continue your part, and then we can fix it later.
yeah.
Yeah.
What I was saying, I remember this week I was reading the book of Deuteronomy and Elohim was speaking to Moses.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it was a part, I forgot the exact chapter, but there was this part. Oh, wait, since my phone is off, maybe I can go to my notes.
Hmm.
One moment.
So hopefully you will join us soon with your camera. Oh, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yes,
We have to
okay.
push through.
Give me a second, guys. I want to get to my notes. But it was something that was very, it caught my attention.
Yeah. Maybe in the meantime, we can take a look at
Mhm.
comments.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes, we see Sister Stephanie as well. She says righteousness does not always immediately equate to blessings. um, Blessings are often promised for obedience. So I think that's in line with what Sister Abigail also said about Moses. He didn't enter into the promised land, but he eventually did what he had to do to bring those people there. And sometimes the blessing is in you obeying Elohim. And I think that's also what you said, Sister Stephanie.
Yeah.
It's not always about the end result, but more so the journey ahead.
Mhm.
And then I see our brother Randy says, but isn't that what Elohim promises to his people? That if we obey his commandments, that it shall be well with us and bless us. So doesn't that answer the question? I think that's a good one. I think that when we look at scriptures, there's oftentimes something required also. It's not necessarily that you immediately get the blessings just because, but leading or living a righteous life and also obeying what Elohim has said or what he requires of you will bring about that blessing. But I also believe that we shouldn't be focused necessarily on the blessings on this earth and in this life,
Yeah.
because think of the prophets. Those were righteous people. They obeyed Elohim, but if you look at their life, a lot of their lives were very sad and very painful moments they had to go through.
Mhm.
So, from our own view or perspective, you wouldn't necessarily say, "Oh, these people are blessed," but their blessing will come because they kept the faith, they kept the word of Elohim. So, in the life hereafter, they will then receive their blessing.
Mhm.
So, I think that's also something to yeah, to remember. What do you actually see as blessings? What Elohim calls blessings is not always what we call blessings.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
um,
I'm back. I found my note. Can you still hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I gave the example that sometimes other people around you, your descendants, other people who are close to you, can benefit from your good work.
Hmm.
And so this week I read Deuteronomy chapter 9. In that chapter, they were about to pass Jordan, I believe.
Hmm.
But in verse 6, it says, understand therefore that Yahuwah thy Elohim giveth thee not this good land to possess it for thy righteousness, for thou art a stiff necked people. So it was not given unto them because of the righteousness, but because of the promise that and covenant that Elohim made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Mhm.
Because of their righteousness, their good work, Elohim still decided to bless those people who were with Moses during the time
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah.
Elohim still calls them a stiff-necked people,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
they were still able to pass through the good land, Jordan. So
Yeah.
that was something that I wanted to add as
Nice.
an
Mhm.
example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice one.
Good.
Yeah.
I also realized the part that you read in Deuteronomy, that we easily make it about us, like what we can gain, and we call
Mm-hmm.
it blessing, but actually we should view it from a different point. We should look it from the point of Elohim's plan.
Yeah.
Because if it is Elohim's plan, of course, in this case, it was a promise, then he will give the reward. He will give what he has promised. So
Mm-hmm.
then we should not focus, like you said also, Brittany, the blessing alone, but we just focus on obeying the laws, follow the journey, keep persistent, do as much as you can for Elohim, which is good in his sight, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe he will give you that blessing that he wants, not what we want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for the good contribution.
Nice. Nice contributions, everyone. Yes, Brother Dandy also says, yes, being blessed can come in different forms and interpretations. So that is truly something to think about. But when we go back to the story of Mary, mother of Yeshua, and that's also why this show is titled The Handmaid of Yah. When Elohim told her, or when the angel Gabriel told her that she would bear a son, um, her response to the angel was, behold, your handmaid or your maidservant,
Mhm.
let it be done unto me according to your word. And I find that such a beautiful statement. I remember reading it, I was like, wow, she doesn't even know what it exactly entails,
No.
what the angel is asking of her or telling her, how is it going to unfold or play out, but she submits herself to what is being said, and she says, let it be done unto me according to your word. I was like, wow, that is a level of humility and trust that I haven't seen before. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Because eventually she lived a life she didn't actually choose. Her
Yeah.
parents made that certain,
Mm-hmm.
but she was okay with it. She
Mhm.
accepted what was said and pronounced over her life. So, what kind of lessons can we get out of that situation
Mhm. Mhm.
or that example?
Mm, well, in Mary's part, um, things are very clear. Like most of things are very clear because she had a personal encounter, and with that happening, that with the encounter that she experienced, she knew what will come her way, and she also had, of course, the time to continue the preparation towards that.
Hmm.
But if I have to bring it to myself, like, okay, what would I do or what would I have done if I would be in her position? Well, some of us, we don't have that personal encounter, but you
Hmm.
still have to go through it. And I think that is more difficult because, of course, we as human beings, flesh and blood, we always want evidence. We want information. We want confirmation. We want something tangible so that, okay, at least you have something with you so that you know that you can keep on going. But without it, without those visible, tangible information and revelations, as you may view it, it's very hard,
Yeah.
very hard. But in this story of Mary, to me, it showcases that once again, faith is
Mm-hmm.
important for
Hmm.
us as women, for everyone, every viewer, man or woman. Faith is very important because it can happen that you don't know everything. You don't have the divine plan about your process, about your journey yet.
Hmm.
And you still have to hold on to something, hold on to the Most High, hold on to what we already have, which is the scriptures, which are the people around us. Also, the encouragement that we can experience in other people, the messages that comes your way that you have to be very alert. So there are many ways that you can still remain calm, as
Hmm.
Mary did. She received it very well, very humble, very uh, beautiful, as you said, Brittany. So instead of focusing on, okay, what can be my personal encounter so that I can just have something as evident, we have to go through it without those encounters, without those revelations.
Yeah.
Hard,
Yeah.
very hard, I think. Yeah.
Hmm. It really shows what faith is, not knowing, but you just
Yeah.
put your
Yeah.
foot
Right,
forward
right,
to
yes.
move in faith. Sorry, Abby, did you want to add anything?
No, I actually said the same thing which you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So,
So I hope that it's something that really inspires the people at home as well. Sometimes Elohim will ask you to do something or go somewhere, but he doesn't specify how you will get there. He only says that it will come about or the situation will be brought about if you obey him or if you listen to the things that he had said. I
Mm.
remember this week I was thinking also about Joseph, and Joseph saw and received dreams of him, his brothers bowing before him. Um, but he never saw what would happen up to that point.
Mhm.
And I was asking myself, like, why does Elohim and why does he do that? Like, why does he oftentimes give us a snippet of how it's going to end, but he won't show us what will happen in in the whole journey
Mm.
towards? But I guess that also has to do with what we already said. Sometimes the blessing in itself is how you're being transformed in the process
Mhm.
towards that. It's not always about how it ends. It's about how you have become who you were supposed to become
Mhm.
because you were obedient. And I think that that is something that our dear sister Mary also teaches us. And before we will end this show, because I guess I feel like we can discuss this topic from so many different angles,
Yes.
I want to look at something that was said and it was quite controversial. Um, and that had to do with this topic: Mary and Joseph's age gap.
Yeah.
Because the minister discussed it during the show. And I remember a sister also asking the question, like, what do you exactly mean? Because this can be taken in a in the very, very wrong way.
Mhm.
And I was curious to what you, Stephanie, you, Abigail, but also the people at home, what did you guys think? Because Mary was 14 and Joseph was old, very old. So, how should we look at this topic?
It's 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 normal. It's normal.
looking at the context given by the preacher man, you can
I
say
was
it is.
not shocked. I was not like, oh, okay, what is he saying? Yeah, there was of course a bigger, assignment. That's why he could do it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
But in our present time, I think
it's
the
different.
yeah, yeah,
Mm, mm, mm,
And
mm.
I think what made Joseph also stand out was the way that the preacher man described him. He
Yeah.
was not portrayed as someone who was lustful,
mm-mm,
like who had lustful desires.
Mm.
He really had good intentions toward her.
yeah,
Mhm.
So I think in that case, yeah, the age gap nowadays it might sound very awkward or uncommon, but as Sister Stephanie mentioned, Elohim looked at a bigger picture, and Joseph was the yeah you pointed righteous man
yeah.
for Mary in this
Yeah.
case. Unfortunately, I'm not able to put my camera on still, so
Mm.
Okay.
that's why it's still turned off.
No worries. I guess everyone is still learning from your wise words. So continue to talk, and then maybe next time we will see you also face to face. Yeah, I put this up there because I also received a question about this, and it was the person did not understand how this is okay
Mhm.
or acceptable. And the question during the show as well. Um, I guess for us, it will always be a bit difficult to understand because the way that we live or where we have come from,
Yeah.
if you are used to this maybe in your environment, it wouldn't sound so weird. A 14-year-old girl with a man that is way up there when it comes to age.
Yeah.
In Africa, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. So there it's normal.
Mm.
But if we would bring it to our Western society, this would be seen as, yeah, pedophilia or something like that. It's not right, and we all know that in the West they do crazy stuff as well. So it's a little bit hypocritical. But I guess that that is something that we have to remember. That first of all, the Bible, the scriptures itself, a lot of African culture. It is an African book. Certain things are normal in there, but it becomes dangerous when we want to literally translate that to our times. So I
Mhm.
can understand that it sounds weird, but in it being weird, other people do it, and there it's okay. That's the norm. That's the standard.
Mhm.
And I don't think that it has to be something from, oh, we from the West think that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. Um, it happens. But if someone would come to me right now, if I had a 14-year-old sister or niece, and she would come with an old guy, I would fight him because that's just no.
You
That's
say no, I don't want.
we cannot accept that. So I hope it sheds some light on this topic.
I want to chip in something.
Yeah,
Because also I have learned something, and I think maybe it's good also that I share this, that most of the things that Elohim does, it does not make sense
yeah,
at all. We are trying to understand it, but it's processing different in our mind. So
hmm,
if in this time, for example, Elohim wants to somehow like repeat this scenario again, and he sees a young man, very decent, principled, Yah-fearing servant, and also there must be an assignment be executed through him.
hmm,
This young man maybe might not obey or follow because he cannot uh, understand or get the reason why this has to be done, because of the shame, because of the many factors that place in this whole story. So we should stop focusing on trying to understand Elohim, just follow the plan,
yeah,
obey obey him, because most of the things Elohim does in the beginning, it does not make sense.
yeah,
Mhm.
At the end it will.
exactly. That's true. Oh, wow, wow, wow. We discussed so many things, and I'm very grateful to have had this conversation with you, my sisters. I heard,
Yeah, are you about to round it up? Are
yes.
you?
She wants to say
Hey,
Oh,
something.
Abigail wants to add something.
I want to add and ask something because
Yes.
Yeah.
I've noticed since we're talking about certain women in the Bible,
Hmm.
looking at the characters and the things that they have been through, um, those with husbands, especially, I've noticed a pattern that their relationships, it was not romantic at all.
Yeah.
Like no romance. So
Hey, we want to see your face, eh? Cecily bring this. She brought this topic intentionally without this face of hers.
no.
I heard her voice. She was like,
Ah,
no romance.
So I
That's
think we can we also learn from this thing as well, like romance
oh,
is
oh, sister romance. Oh, sister romance. Yeah,
no
I guess
romance.
in this,
all about that.
um, it's funny that you mentioned this because when Stephanie was talking about Mary and Joseph, that was something that also came into my head. It was not necessarily a relationship based on romance.
No.
In the
At all.
Yeah, in the scriptures, oftentimes they would take a woman into the house or a just to take care of that person, to make sure the person has a roof over her head, she has food, there's someone that's responsible for her, and not necessarily because of the touchy feely. I want flowers, I want chocolate, I want kisses here there. That was not necessarily the case. I think that's something also from our Western way of living, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Hollywood is broadcasting another agenda.
Exactly. Because even in uh, Africa, I've watched many documentaries of men that were married, maybe with multiple wives, but there was no No, not even 1% of romance. It was just he needed help around the house, so he married as much women as possible, and that's about it. They had food here and there, some children, but that's it.
Mm,
Simple, a
yeah,
simple lifestyle.
yeah.
So I think that's something that we have to sometimes get out of our head, that the focus of a relationship should be romance.
Mm.
There's so much more to that than what you
Mhm.
heard.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you satisfied with that answer?
I'm content with your answer, Brittany.
Okay, great. Then we will now really round it off.
Yes.
As I was saying, I'm very grateful for the things that you guys have shared. Also, the people in the comment section, Andy, Sister Stephanie, and those that are listening at home. I hope all of us have learned something. And before we leave, I find it important to always leave a nugget or something to reflect upon. So, very short, snappy. If you could advise maybe your sister, your niece, other women around you, what would you want to give them from the story of Mary? What is something that you want them to leave with?
Is that to us or to the
Yes,
listeners? Because
yes,
it's like,
to the both
oh,
of
okay,
you.
sorry.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Both of you. So,
Uh,
Sister Steph, yes, let us hear.
um. Well, I think this story. I hope, not I think. I
Mhm,
really hope that this story will um give room for some thinking, for some um assessment
mhm,
about your own life and the things that you are dealing with, the ups and the downs in the journey.
mhm,
And through this story, I really hope that it allows people to think if they're really ready to receive whatever comes their way, if they're really prepared, because we don't know our left and right, we don't know the next season, even we don't know our current season.
mhm.
So if you know or don't know the next season that you might step in, are you ready for what is coming your way? That is what I hope that it may bring those thoughts to you.
Nice. Are you ready for what is coming your way? And Sister Abigail?
Well, I'm actually still thinking of an answer.
Yeah.
And honestly, at this moment, I don't really know what I
Mhm,
would say based on the story of Mary,
mhm.
because there's so many things that you can, so many angles that you can look at. So I don't have a definite answer right now. I
Yeah.
think the summary that Sister Stephanie gave, it's a good one to take to reflect upon.
Yes. Nice. Thank you. And for me, it would be continue to do the right thing, and not necessarily because you want to receive something, but do the right thing because that is what Elohim requires of you. Do the right thing so that you can be of help to your brothers and sisters you're surrounding,
Mhm.
and not always be focused on the blessing. The blessing itself will come, but you continue to do what you're supposed to do. So, that being said, thank you everyone for the encouraging words. Tomorrow we will look at a new character, 12 p.m. sharp on Facebook and also on YouTube. Make sure you give us a thumb, a like, a share, a subscribe. Share it with everyone you know around you. And we hope that you will enjoy this Sabbath. And we hope to see you tomorrow. So, once again, thank you and have a nice evening. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.